Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker. Listen, guys, I sat down and I listened to all 26 episodes of the Danish Deception. At first, I said, okay, this is probably fake, especially after I listened to a few other reviewers. Some people were saying, she didn't even say her name right. So I'm like, oh my God. Some people say Onyeke, others say Onika. I'm like, okay, we're going to just call her Miss O for the time being. Okay. But anyway, as I listened to some other people, I found that the guy that she was with is really actually a scammer. And he does it by making romantic connections. And then after he gets the woman that way, then he goes after their money. He starts borrowing money from them. So I said, all right, we need to talk. Now I'm going to let you guys know I have been a victim of not just scams in business, but recently also a love scam as well. So I can relate a little bit to what this lady went through. A lot of these guys, they're really smooth talkers. It's unbelievable. But guess what? There are red flags, and sometimes we'll either pause or we'll ignore them. It's unfortunate, especially when you are kind of desperate and kind of needy. You know what I mean? But listen, let me get into her situation, right? So, one of the problems I have to admit that I had was I didn't like the fact that it was called Danish Deception because creeps come in all colors, races, creeds, nationality, male, female, like everything. So, I was like, nah, because see, people now, if they look at that, they're going to have their guard up only when they're dealing with a Danish person, and then have their guard down when they're dealing with people from other regions, other races, and what have you. No, guys, keep your guard up all the time, no matter who you're dealing with. Okay. So that was the issue one of the issues that I had. The other one is she said that love is a drug. Guys, love, it was not involved in this. I know some of you said it was not. This was lust. This was pure lust because all she did most of the time was describe how beautiful he was, how he was blonde hair, blue eyes, muscles, and all of that. So this was not love. This was definitely lust. Okay, lust is the drug that's dangerous, especially when you're in the position that she was in, because she said she hadn't been in a relationship or a real serious one. It had been like 8 years. So I know that the hormones was kicking and was acting up. All right. Now, love, let me tell you, love is a vitamin. It's a vitamin that one should take every day because when you take love, and I don't necessarily mean from someone else. I'm talking about loving yourself. Self-love and value, when you pour into yourself every day, that prevents you, honestly, from falling victim to red flags. You're less likely to ignore them, if you will. All right. And I know she said that she was a proud Nigerian, proud of her race, proud of her culture, proud of where she come from, right? Listen, good for her. But just because one is proud of their race, proud of their culture, that doesn't necessarily mean that they love themselves. One can be proud of their accomplishments, she said she was proud to be a Christian. That still doesn't necessarily mean that she loved herself. And the reason why I question that is because I heard that her backstory was that she came from boarding schools. Now, most Black people do not send their kids to boarding school. I know that boarding schools do not have enough of us represented in there. So she probably wasn't the cool girl sitting at the cool girl's table, if you will. You understand what I'm saying? So she probably wasn't picked for a lot of things, and that might have affected her psyche as well. You understand me? So I'm not saying that she's not a victim. She's a victim in many ways, but listen, guys, um, I do believe that one of the main reasons why she didn't see those flags is because of that. Is definitely because of that. I'm not sure about the whole race thing. It's probably the case since he was white and she's black. But I don't want to go there just as of yet. I'm tiptoeing on that real lightly. But definitely I believe a lack of self-love was the culprit and is something that she really needs to build up on. Okay, we got to pour into ourselves. And then here's the other thing too with some of these churches don't believe in self-love. They think self-love is a form of being conceited, which it's not. Okay, so that's another thing that you guys got to keep in mind when judging, I feel, when judging her. Or this is really just my opinion anyway. Listen. Okay, so here's the thing though that did bother me. I'm happy that she shared her story. I really am, because it brought up a whole lot of things that we need to discuss that does not get discussed. And I'm so happy to see so many people responding to her. However, she's not taking accountability for the hand that she played, and that bothers me, because when you don't take accountability, you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Now, I didn't look at all the comments, all the videos, but from what I could see, the people who were checking her were doing it more in love, not so much in hate. I didn't get hate from them, you know. So the ones that were upset because she pigeonholed all Black women and said that we were the ones that were the most negative towards her and preventing other people from coming forward. No, I kind of disagree with that as well. And I thought that that was pretty unfair, because I saw people who weren't Black that commented, and some of them were actually a lot crueler, you know, and that kind of a flag came up for me regarding that. Okay, so anyway, uh, that is that is something that I kind of feel like, you know, she might not be aware of people's tones and intention, and sometimes it's not always easy to when you're reading, but I think she needs to open up her mind a little bit and realize, hey, everybody's not necessarily against you. All right. Now, here's my advice to her and to other young people, well, hell, even people my own age. All right. I felt as though she shared too much, too soon, too fast with somebody that she hardly knew. Predators are very good listeners. I know that, you know, we are, many of us women, and I'm pretty sure men too, you're accomplished. You got your degrees, you got your experience, you got your titles, you're proud. And there's nothing wrong with being proud about that. But unfortunately, because of the world that we live in and have been living in for a while, because scamming is not new, it's just been taken to a whole nother level, and more people are talking about it. Because of this, these predators, these roaches, we got to kind of dial back. Like she was saying, she's an accountant, she's a realtor, she's in tech. Just pick one. Just say accountant and leave it alone. Don't. I felt as though with her saying all these things, it said to him, green light, she got money. Let me take advantage of her. She's a money magnet. Okay. Um, and then the other thing I wanted to say, I agree with, everybody else about, why didn't she Google? Why didn't she verify who he was? I agree with that, and a lot of other things that people said. I'm here with everybody, but what people did not talk about was the money situation, particularly in business. You see, he said he was royalty, Olympic. He had his own business and he owned apartment buildings, right? His income, he said, was 400,000. Her income, she said, was 150,000. First of all, why are we even sharing income amounts with someone we barely know? But it was done. That's another example of sharing too much too soon, too fast. All right. Now, when you own a business, if you're a successful business person, especially royalty, you do not need to be borrowing money from somebody who makes less money than you. You normally have rich friends and rich family, and you can borrow money there. So I'm not sure. It must have happened like really, really fast. Or he must have been a really good talker, how he got her family, her friends, her coworkers to give him money like that. Yeah, that is that's mind-boggling for me. For me. And then the other thing is most rich people have a relationship with banks. They normally know a banker or two. And I've mentioned this before. It is very important that you have a good relationship with your banker so that in case there's an emergency, your banker can get you that money quickly without you, filling up as many forms as, let's say, somebody who has no relationship with them. And when I say relationship, yes, your banker should be your best friend. They should. They're touching your money. That's personal. Okay. But honestly, all you really have to do, make an appointment, meet with them once a month for like 15 minutes. Well, not once a month. It could be like once every 6 months. And then give them a gift, Christmas, find out when their birthday is. And that gift can be sparkling cider. Like you don't even need to spend that much money because when you're starting off, you don't have that much money, right? It's not until later when you get big, that's when you would have a party maybe and invite them over. And that's how a lot of them write off their parties for taxes, right? Is because they invite certain people, business associates, bankers, customers, clients, et cetera, because the IRS knows that they're not just going to be quote unquote partying, they're going to be actually talking and probably making deals at these particular parties, right? But anyway, that's why I kind of thought that since she's an accountant and a realtor, I was like, I wonder, how come that didn't dawn on her? Why didn't that, pop into her head? The other thing too was that she said that the IRS over there, which is actually the Denmark tax agency, that at one point they were holding his money. And that's why she lent him more money. And I'm saying to myself, now, wait a minute. Typically, tax agency holds your money when you owe them money or they, detect fraud. or something to that effect. They don't just hold your money just to hold your money. That's not how that goes. And as a business, you should always have money in reserve anyway. So what in the world? Like, that doesn't make any sense. How she let that red flag go. That was mind-boggling for me. And then when she said that the bank at another time was holding his money. Now, I know banks, they hold your money when the court summons them, like, tells them, hey, you need to freeze that account until this is over. And normally when they tell you to freeze the account, that's not a good look. Again, fraud could be the issue. So that's why I'm like, you're a realtor and an accountant and you didn't see that? Wow. He must have been really good. See, and I'm wondering if she was stigmatized, sorry, please send your children somewhere. But, she did mention that she did have sex with him, and oh, man. Okay. Okay. But yeah, that would have been a red flag for me. That wouldn't have been a pause. That would have been a stop. And I don't want to come off like I'm better than her, because I've made mistakes loaning men money myself. But this would have been no, this wouldn't have gone for me. But we're different people. I'm a lot older than her. I should know better. But I made mistakes anyway. Getting back to her, the other situation that occurred, that she mentioned that he owned property and what have you. See, me, I'm a little nosy, just a little bit. And then because I've been burned so many times, that's one of the reasons why. I would have done a background check. I would have done a title search. And you can do that online. Now, granted, he's in Denmark. I would have called up a realtor in Denmark and found out how to run a title search in that country. Or ask them if they could do it for me, or if they knew a title company that could do it for me, so that I could verify that he actually owned what he owned. Because the person that I was with told me they owned a home, and when I did a title search, I did the quick and dirty one, and I confronted him. I said, hey, this title search is saying that this property is owned by your sister, not by you. See, guys, you got to constantly do background checks with people. You can't just stop, and you can't just use just one site. Like, Google and AI is a start, but Google and AI doesn't do title searches. Like, you actually, like, if they were in America, for example, if you want it done for the cheap, you either go down to the county clerk office, or you call the county clerk, or the deed recorder's office, whatever it's called in that area, right? You can also go to like Neighborhood or NetR Online or Title Pro or Pro Title. Pay a little bit more money, and they'll let you know who owns what. There's also Property Shark. That's not a title search site, but I believe it does tell you, who has the deed and what have you, like, and things like that. So yeah, I'm shocked as a realtor that she didn't think to do that, and she just trusted him the way she did. I was told that she came from a wonderful background where everybody trusted everybody, and I can relate to that. I didn't necessarily grow up that way, but I know people who did also. And I can definitely see that, but I feel as though with so many reports of people coming forward, especially in this country, that more and more people would take it upon themselves to make that extra step. But I guess, I'm wrong. I'm wrong, and I have to give grace and benefit of the doubt. I say all of this to say this as well. You see, guys, and this probably would lean more towards her friends, her family, her coworkers, etc. A person can be book smart, but that doesn't necessarily always mean that they have common sense. Common sense is not a flower that grows up in everybody's garden, okay? And it also, just because you're book smart, that doesn't always mean you have street sense. And listen, a lot of people read books, but they don't get the full understanding. They don't always read between the lines. Sometimes they don't have the experience to do so. You ever pick up a book and read it, and it has one meaning when you're young, and then you grow old and you read this older, and you read that same book, and all of a sudden it has a new meaning. It's the same story. The story didn't change, but the meaning did. Or there's additional meanings to that. Like The Wiz, The Wizard of Oz, for example, would be one of those books that I would say. The Bible, yes, even though there's more than one version of it, but you can read the same version that you read when you were a child and get the same passage and get a totally, completely different understanding of it that you didn't get when you were younger. That's all I'm saying. So we got to take all of these things into account. But listen, hey, this Miss O, she's young. I believe she'll bounce back. I just want her to realize she has to hold herself accountable. Forget about everybody else. She has to hold herself accountable so that she doesn't run into the same type of con artist again. And if truth be told, he left her. She didn't leave him. And that's the even sadder part. She said that he, is sending her text and everything else like that. I just hope that she stays strong and doesn't accept him back. Especially now that she's found out that he's ripped some girl off in Asia and is also ripping off some other girls in, was it South America or Central America, somewhere down there. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you. Hopefully the information that I shared will help you make smart financial moves. Feel free to pass this amongst your friends. Remember, each one reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.